Okay, we're here. The Tech Spotlight, Tech Entrepreneur Spotlight. Your host Jerome Parker. We're here with Ben Spak, right? SPAK. All right, not Spak. My apologies.
Either way, man, screw
So
it.
this is third time recording this, so we're we're really anxious to get this right the first time. Ran into some issues, but I'm gonna let Ben just go ahead and introduce himself. He is the creator of the 301 Days of Code hashtag. About to celebrate its 1 year anniversary, right? No, 2 year anniversary. All right, I'm gonna let you have the floor, Ben. Where are you from? How'd you get into computer science? What are you currently doing? And then we'll go from there.
Right on. Thanks, man. Thanks again for having me. I'm really excited to be on this. It's my first interview actually talking about 301 Days of Code, and honestly, in the back of my mind, I was like, when is someone going to finally talk about it? So it's nice to finally get something out there, and hopefully help a couple of your viewers, and maybe get a couple people brought on board and up to speed with 301 Days of Code, maybe help them get a job and kind of change their life. Because that was my initial idea behind it. But I came from pretty humble beginnings. Um, I started off MySpace days just getting familiar with HTML and CSS. I'm sure some people who are also millennials, if you're around my age, may have gotten exposure through Neopets. Um, but yeah, I'd gotten into HTML and CSS, started going to college for computer security, and realized that there was no market for computer security 10 years ago. It's funny how you can hit the mark on something, but if the timing is
Right.
not right, you're screwed. So that I think was 07, 08, right when the financial crisis was hitting, and I got super lucky, man.
Oh, you got lucky. Good. Okay, good. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, man. That I was that was 2008, so I was a sophomore in high school during the crash, and I started my company um when I was 14, so it was like I was like 2 years in the game, and I
kick ass,
lost
dude.
so many clients during '08. I ended up only having like one or two during the time. I mean, but I'm in high school, so it is what it is. But I remember I was like, oh man, there was just so many people that got screwed in that crisis. You spoke
Yeah,
about your military service on our when we tried the second time. Would you like to speak about that a little bit and why you
yeah,
decided to go to the public sector and then come back out to the private sector?
yeah, sure. So, um, like I said, I was in college, and honestly, I just didn't feel like I had a sense of direction. And I hated the small town that I was in, on the east coast of Florida. So I just decided, all right, let me join up. I'll see the world. I'll get plenty of life experience. I'll be part of this. My thinking at the time was be part of this, fantastic team that will give me a sense of purpose and a sense of direction. And to some extent, it did. But I don't know. Quite honestly, I think it just gave me the opportunity to figure things out.
Mm.
I was in the military, and they sent me to South Dakota, so I didn't exactly get a chance to see the world. They stuck me on a airframe that was designed in the '60s and implemented in the '70s. So I thought I'd be working with the latest and greatest, and not necessarily the case. Um, but I learned the value of hard work. I learned that it was necessary to really bust my ass. I learned how to play politics to some degree, and make sure that you look good for other people if you want to get promoted and that sort of thing. So it did teach me a lot of essential life skills. But unfortunately, with a lot of military programs, you don't really have transferable skills to the civilian side. Um, so I was going through kind of a crappy divorce near the end of my 4 years in the Air Force, and kind of started to realize I just didn't have anything that was really holding me to it, or keeping me interested in it. So I decided to start interning at an ad agency, Robert Sharp and Associates in South Dakota, and I learned search engine optimization, and that's what really kind of springboarded me back into just the general web and programming space.
Okay. Okay. And you were doing like, keyword optimization, stuff like that, HTML, JavaScript optimization, stuff like that. So what are you currently doing in the
Yeah, so currently I'm actually back on the job hunt. I've been working on a few different projects. One that I'm still being a little bit lazy on and trying to get off the ground is something called Dev Gains, and you can check it out. I mean, just like a basic GitHub repo at this point. But essentially, I want to create a career roadmap for junior and newbie developers to kind of. It's like you remember like those old Goosebump books where like you read through like a certain portion of it and then you can determine like what happens in the story.
yeah
Like
the
flip
decision
to
making?
page
Yep.
50. Exactly,
Kind of like the
yeah.
text
So,
RPGs.
oh, what's that? Sorry.
Kind of like the text RPGs.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to design something like that for junior and newbie developers. So, I'll just kind of go through this questionnaire, which I've already asked on Twitter, and I do have some results if you want to check that out. But ask them questions of what type of company do you want to work for? Is it going to be a smaller company where you do a lot of things? Is it going to be maybe a larger company where you only do a specific amount of things? Um, and I think that'll really help people shape and determine what tech stack they really want to focus on. Because I noticed there's a lot of parallels there.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to work for a startup, for example, you probably want to learn Node, you probably want to learn Python, or you probably want to learn Ruby on Rails, which is still relatively hot, at least in the West Coast startups.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to work for a larger company, then you probably want to learn something like Java or C Sharp. Something more enterprise that has a big brand behind it that a manager can say, okay, well, this entire production build just went to crap, but hey, it wasn't us. It's Microsoft. It's their fault. And it has strong typing and whatever. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping to help provide a little bit more guidance for people in their career, and that was kind of the purpose of 301 Days of Code as well. After I landed my own job and was doing it for kind of selfish reasons.
Okay. So, explain the process for 301 Days of Code. With 100 Days of Code, it's supposed to be an hour a day. You got to retweet or you tweet your progress, and if you don't, you skip a day. You got to start all over. What is 301 Days of Code?
Yeah, great question. So, that was one thing that as you mentioned, it's about an hour a day, and if you miss a day, you have to start all the way from the beginning. I'm not the biggest fan of that because I know that things like family, things like friends, even emergencies just do arise, and having to start something that you're really focused on that's a positive change in your life, that's a positive challenge, just didn't seem right to me. So that's kind of the approach I took. Is okay. Well, there's 365 days in a year. Sorry about that. So why not condense it? Take 301 days out of the year to really focus on that. The remaining 64 can be for a job hunt. So that's kind of the approach I took. Is much like with working out, you want to do small kind of progressive gains on something. So you want to say lift 5 pounds one week, maybe do 5 or 6 pounds the next week, and just keep ratcheting up the time. Right. So that's the approach I took with 301 Days of Code. You start off with 3 minutes a day, and you just keep incrementally increasing the amount of time that you put into it on a daily basis. Maybe you work yourself up to an hour a day. Maybe you don't. But the key thing is just to remain consistent, to not hold yourself accountable, but not feel like you totally messed up just because you missed a day because of life circumstances.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So first of all, I like that word you made on accident, junior newbie. I like that. That should be a thing. But that idea that you have dev gains, is that what you call it? Dev gains? Okay. Yeah, that's a very much needed application, and I really look forward to seeing your. Have you already started coding it?
No, I haven't, man. I've been slacking.
Well, man, you should get on that. Get on that. You should definitely you should do that and tweet your progress out. A lot of people would use that in the and especially in the 101 days community and 301 days community. I mean, I've been programming majority of my life. So what the one thing I love about this 100 days of code and 300 days of code when I just go and just searching the hashtags is just like, when I started programming, Git wasn't out. Uh, you know, you had to manage everything. Like learning how to program was much harder than it is like today. Basically, what I'm saying, exponentially.
100%, yeah.
And just seeing how all these young people coming up and getting it within 1 to 3 months. That's awesome to me. And in companies, and I can tell you, because I own a consulting company, and I actually don't have a degree. So, I've done senior work at Apple. I've done senior work at Sephora, GE, Dell, and
hell yeah, man.
And they don't care about a degree. They don't.
No.
When I was at Apple, my senior engineering team was like 8 people, and like 3 of us didn't have degrees. So, so companies would love an app like that. If you make an app, they can see progress made from people, and they can see the different, they can search and see what they need. If they're looking for a Django developer, looking for Ruby on Rails developer, whatever, and you provide that service for them, and you can link those two, that not only is that a very useful idea, but that'd be a very profitable startup. So you should definitely get on that.
Good call, man.
Yeah. So,
well, hey, I'm looking for a co-founder if you want to work together.
Let's talk. Let's definitely talk, because I that's a great idea. Last couple things, and then we'll let you get off here. What advice do you have for junies and coming up in the space?
That's a good question. I think probably the power of persistence. You're definitely going to run into struggles and hurdles just like every developer. And, I think a lot of people are going to suffer from imposter syndrome. Oh man, I can't do this. This is challenging. Why can't I figure this out? Why can't I memorize this? Why do I have to keep looking stuff up? These are things I constantly hear on Twitter, just other people I speak with in DMs. And, ultimately everyone goes through it. I know several, myself included, several senior developers who still have to look things up. They still have to read, API documentation. And that's what keeps this field so interesting and entertaining. And that's initially what brought me here, and I think keeps a lot of people here, is you're constantly having to learn. You're constantly having to look stuff up. It's a constant challenge. And I don't know. Me personally, if I didn't have to look things up and I already had a routine that I had to copy over and over and over again, or a template I had to do over and over and over again, I would be bored out of my mind. So if you're a junior or a newbie developer, a juvie, or however you want to say it, then yeah, just keep in mind you have to be persistent. Bring back that curiosity that you lost when you were in high school, because I don't know, that's one thing that I hate about this country is the education system, the compulsory schooling. You have to go to college, or you have to go to high school. You're required to do XYZ. You're punished for asking questions. You're punished for doing what's necessary. Maybe you learn by moving around. Maybe you learn by interacting with other people, and that is really forced out of a lot of people. So you gotta be comfortable with bringing that back, being your own authentic self, and asking questions and fucking things up, and just putting yourself out there, man, is the biggest thing.
Absolutely. I love that. Do you have anything else that you would like to say, and then follow that with your social media? How can people find you? And then we'll close it out.
Yeah, dig it, man. No, just, thanks for having me. I really do appreciate the opportunity to talk about 301 Days of Code, and the opportunity to talk about, a couple of things I'm passionate about, and being able to be exposed more to your audience and vice versa. Yeah, on a personal note, I'd love to, maybe tag up on a couple of projects in the future. Um, and if anyone's interested in working with me, you can reach out on GitHub, LinkedIn, pretty much every social media will be just Benjamin Spak, my first and last name. And super responsive on Twitter. Usually have a question of the day there. And I'm slowly starting to grow my YouTube channel, so definitely check that out. It's low production vlogs, but
Job,
it's consistent.
Right?
So.
I did forget to ask a question. What technologies do you work with?
Yeah, good question. Primarily front end.
Okay.
You know how it is. You see like that horrible like horse drawing, and like part of it's like high fidelity, and the other part's like really low fidelity.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm like really strong front ends, and then the back end I'm kind of weak. A little bit of everything. Python, PHP,
what
JavaScript.
Frameworks do you use? JavaScript.
Sorry.
What JavaScript frameworks do you use?
Oh, just React and Vue. Have a little bit of experience with Angular, but it's Angular, man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Vue ninja myself. React. I mean, I like React, but I'm just in love with Vue. I love Vue. Do check out NativeScript, or do you do React Native?
No, I haven't. But I keep hearing fantastic things about it.
Yeah, you should check out either React Native or NativeScript, depending on if you lean more towards React or Vue. But they both do the same things: the transpiler or the JSX compiler. So it's pretty awesome. But all right, thank you, Ben, and thank you everyone who's watching. Don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe, and follow Ben in his projects. And I'm sure that I will have him on here again later in the future. Once again, everybody, this is the Tech Entrepreneur Spotlight, and is your host, Jerome Parker. Until next time.